What's happening, fishing friends? You know, summer fishing can be tough for a lot of folks right now. You know, a lot of people think you got to go offshore to find those deep fish, and there's a bunch out there, but there's still fish up shallow. And one surefire way to find those fish up in the shallows is with a popper. So in today's video, I'm going to share 4 tips to help you catch more bass and be more successful with this topwater. So enough yapping, let's get into it. Okay, so the first tip that I have is to choose the right popper for you. You know, people hear popper fishing and they think of the real slow bloop, bloop, wait until all the, ripples disappear, really slow fishing. And that is one way to do it, and one way that I have success. But nowadays there's a number of different types that fit, little different scenarios or the way you like to fish. Okay, so starting off with that slower blooping type, a couple here. Probably my favorite on the market right now is the Rebel P71. This is one that they brought back. It's got a much larger mouth, a larger bloop plopping area, kind of reminiscent to the old Arbogast hula popper. Couldn't think of the name of it. Real big mouth on it, fish it real slow, real big bloop. Something like this. This is another one that I know a lot of people like. I haven't put as much time in with this one, but it's the Arashi cover pop. Big mouth, popping this around cover and such. And that's really the way, that I'm doing that slow blooping type, is around isolated pieces of cover where you're just bloop, bloop. We'll get into that more, but that bigger mouth, that's kind of what I'm looking for. You can use some of the other ones that have the smaller mouth, but that real big, large cup is going to give you that big bloop and kind of make a bubble. The next type, and one that I worked a lot last year, is a little bit more subtle of a mouth. Show you. There's the difference between the two, the P71 over here, and this is a Rico. This is the larger Rio Rico, and you can see it's more of a slender, longer type, and this is the type that I like to walk. So when I'm covering more water, it's like a little walking bait, like a little boyo spook, but it's given a little spit and a pop. And the good thing is once you come up against cover and stuff, you can still slow this down and get that little spitting, blooping action to it. So the Rico, a lot of people say this is the best one on the market. I will say the paint job or the foiling didn't hold up well, which is crummy because these are like 22, 23 bucks. Kind of got chewed up on both of the ones that I had. Just to show you here, Excite Baits came out with theirs that is almost identical to the Rico. The Excite Baits, I think this is the Villain, I want to say. Hopefully I got that right. There's the Heckler and the Villain. I get them mixed up. But also a very good one I had good luck with last year, that smaller, mouth cup to it, not as big and exaggerated, more walking, spitting type. You've got finesse poppers. So if it's a tough bite, there's actually going to be a video coming out. I had a great day fishing a little BFS popper, even a little bit smaller than this. It's the Lucky Craft one. Forget which one it's called. I'll leave everything, all the gear, lures, everything that I'm talking about linked below, the different types and stuff, make it easier for you. Of course, if you ever use my Tackle Warehouse links and such, a little bit comes back to me, so I appreciate anybody supporting the channel. But this little finesse popper, when they're feeding on smaller bait or it's just tough conditions, you need to downsize, these are great. Another one I throw into that conversation is this from Arc, a different, more exaggerated cup mouth, but the way it sits, it has a very unique bloop. I remember the day I was fishing this with my buddy Matt, he was asking me, what popper are you throwing? That sounds weird. It's got a very weird kind of blooping spit to it. So the Arc TP70, kind of in that finesse category. It's not too big, but a unique sound to it. And then the last category I have is some of these hybrids. I don't know if you would really for sure call these poppers. This is the Rapala Skitter Pop. Again, can be walked. It's kind of got that spitting action, so more of like a walking spitting, but you can slow it down and spit it. Great bait. I've had a lot of success on that over the years. And something that Gabe at 10 Horse Monty has been throwing and had a ton of success with, and kind of got me back into it last year. I bought a couple more of these. I've only got a couple of the old ones left. This is the Storm Chug Bug, and you can see there, that's what it's meant to do there. Chug up in the front, kind of a light pop. So these are kind of the, I guess, hybrids, a little bit different walking type, but choose what's best for you. Now that leads us right into tip number 2, and that's to vary your retrieve and try different ways of working the popper. So let's start with that first type, the larger mouth, the slow bloops. When am I going to do this? Well, those times when it's completely slick calm, it's tough. Usually the sun's out, I'm working shade lines. This is a great time to still throw topwater when the sun's out, but you've got overhanging trees or docks, anything that's gonna have like an umbrella, a canopy effect where those fish can get under and hide in the shade. This is a perfect way to do that. You're able to keep the bait right there in the strike zone longer, real slow bloop, bloop. It's the sound that people say that fish make, like when they come up, like a bluegill or something comes up and hits an insect or something, gives that bloop. I guess is kind of what draws fish in. I don't know if it's that or it's just the sound of it. Either way, you can keep that bait in the strike zone longer. Another thing is isolated cover, those days where you're like, man, every fish I've caught's been on a log or a little brush pile. The slow bloop type is great because you can just get there, bloop, 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 bloop. Great to slow work it on those days where they don't want anything moving fast and you're really trying to focus on a certain object or cover. Now, if you want to move a little quicker, so if you've got kind of cloudy skies, you see fish moving up shallow, you know, eating bait and stuff, I like this kind where you can walk it and cover water. Specifically for riprap banks. I don't know what it is about that, but riprap banks, a walking bait or a little popper that you can walk and kind of vary your speed, especially with this, when you're walking it, moving it, not just pop, pop, pop. You're going to catch a lot of fish like that, but sometimes they want it quick where it and then stops. And pauses. Pauses are part of the cadence. I know people don't really think about that, but just as much as how fast you work it or what speed, or, you know, how much it's going, just as important as those pauses, because you can be working a topwater walking bait, pause, and then go to walk it again, and that's when that fish hits it. You know, you have to remember a lot of them are following, wait and seeing, what is this thing going to do? And as soon as you speed it up or stop for just a split second and go again, it'll trigger those to bite. So these ones with a little bit smaller cupped lip to it, I like to walk these. They're a little bit easier to do that. And then going back to the chug bug days, really all these can do it, but the third way I like to walk it is with short little pops and then a pause. And wait, so so it's kind of spitting and then pause, pause. So it looks like something skittering up there, you know, a little bait fish, especially like with these little finesse ones as I'm working them, pop, 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 and then leave, and it looks like some little tiny bait fish up there skittering to get away. So okay, so now that you've got your popper picked out and you're thinking of the different ways to work it, what is the combo you want to fish it on? That's my third tip, is to choose a combo that works for you. Like any technique or lure, if you ask 5 different guys what the best combo for it is, there's a good chance you're going to get 5 very different or even slightly different variations. For example, I heard Rick Clunn talking about this some time ago, and I went and found the video. I'll leave that link below because it's a great listen. He and a Japanese gentleman, I forget his name, invented or made the Rico, and he goes into the history of it and why and all that. Like I said, it's a good watch. If you like poppers, go check it out. But he works very differently. He doesn't go anything less than 17-pound line, which I thought was crazy. A heavier rod, like a medium heavy, I think he uses, and works very fast, which is something I don't do. I'm going to try his method because he said that, you know, it's caught fish for him when nobody else could catch him. So it's a different retrieve. But, you know, that short where I said like, pss, pss, and I would leave it, he's talking like super fast working it. So check out the video. It's a really interesting listen. But the thing is, people don't fish it the same. You find a system that works for you. So for example, I always consider the hook rod line relationship whenever I'm picking out a bait. It's an old series that I used to do. I should probably bring it back because it was a lot of fun. In any system, you want to think about the hook. How big is it? How heavy is it? What line you're using, because some lines stretch, some lines float, some lines sink. And then the rod you're using. There has to be some sort of give in your system. So if you just use a super heavy stick with you know, braided line and you're just wrenching fish out, that's great for some things, but not other, you know, finesse things. So I always consider the hook, the rod, and the line. So for a rod, I would say that 7-ish foot rod is a great do-it-all size. You know, from a boat, guys might want to go a little longer. From the bank or kayak, sitting down fishing, I actually like to go a little bit shorter from the bank. That way when you're working the rod, you're not hitting grass and rocks and stuff. And the kayak too, as I'm sitting down, I like something a little shorter. Especially I found I like a rod with a slightly shorter butt. That used to be something I didn't care about bank fishing standing up or in the boat, but sitting down, I fish sitting down from the kayak. If it has a big, huge, long butt section here, it's hitting my life jacket. So something I've looked for more. But a 7-ish foot rod, this is one from Okuma that I have absolutely loved. I think the best series of rods that they've done, this Guide Select Cranking. They had these on sale. I'm not sure if they're phasing these out, but a slightly shorter rod. This is a 6'9". Medium power, fast action is usually always my pick, whatever one I'm going to. Some mediums are a little bit faster, some are a little bit slower, and that's where it's going to kind of depend on you to pick what you want. So for the line is really important. You have to use a mono or some sort of floating line, braid, something that doesn't sink. Fluorocarbon's not going to work well because that line's going to sink and it's going to tend to bring the nose of that bait down. It's not going to pop and walk the way you want it to. So mono, a copolymer, like the Trilene XL in the red box is still my favorite mono. I've been testing this out. I really like this as a copolymer. It's supposed to have some better qualities of like some of the other lines, so better abrasion resistance, those sort of things, but it's still really soft and casts well. And that's the biggest thing for me, is I like a mono that's got low memory, casts really well. You don't have to worry about it when you're working that lure. You don't want something that curls and kinks up and destroys the action. So a good limp line laying out there, both of those have been good. Now, if you have a slightly softer rod, you might want to think about going to braid. The P-Line Endurex braid, no fade stuff is what I've been using. I've really liked it. If you're a Power Pro guy, or the Daiwa J braid, I think is probably the best bang for the buck braid out there. Choose a braid if you have a slightly softer rod, but one thing I always tell people is with topwater baits or poppers, I personally always like to tie a mono leader. That way the mono, or some sort of floating line leader, something like this with 15 pound is great because it's going to stick out in front of the lure. It's not like the braid worlds tend to kind of get wrapped up in the front hook. It's just a pain in the butt. So I tie a short leader, you know, a foot, couple feet, something like that, just to get that line out in front of it, so it's not getting caught in the front hook. But depending on how fast of a rod or how slow, how soft of a rod, might kind of dictate if you want to use mono or braid. Another thing to think about too is if you're throwing really long casts. So if you're going with something like this, covering riprap, you know, maybe even a grass line, something like that, walking it, the longer the cast you make with mono or some sort of nylon line that's got a lot of stretch, you might miss fish, especially if you have a little bit softer rod. So that might be one of the times where you want to go to braid to a leader if you're making really, really long casts, covering water and walking a popper. Now for the reel, I think is the least important for most topwater stuff because all the action, all the working of the bait is coming from the rod. I'm just picking up slack line with the reel. So like a 7-speed reel is my favorite do-it-all. This happens to be the SLX. You don't need anything super crazy expensive because these are treble hook baits. It's not like I'm throwing a frog where I'm just jacking those fish with braid. And, you know, again, something's got to give in that setup. I've never had trouble with treble hook baits with a reel like this. Even if you don't have an aluminum frame reel, that's what I tend to save for topwater or crankbaits, shallower crankbaits, where you're not putting a ton of stress on the reel. So pick a reel you like. I think the SLX is the king of the $99 category now since the LFS went up to 130 bucks. That stinks. Okay, the fourth and final tip that I have is hook sets and hookup ratio. With any sort of topwater bite, it is really hard not to absolutely try to set that hook when a fish blows up on it. It sounds like a cannonball hitting the water, and the natural reaction is to try to set that hook. Well, the problem with that is, especially with the popper, is if you're working a little isolated, you know, piece of brush or cover or something, and you sling that hook, it's going to take that bait, send it back. You might not get another chance at that fish. So for me with treble hook baits, walking baits, poppers, anything that have the treble hooks on it, as I'm working it and that fish blows up on it, I wait to feel weight on the line. I wait to feel the fish on the line before I pull into it. That way I'm sure that the fish has it. Now, if you're, you know, next to really thick wood and stuff, it's a fine line because you don't want that fish to get down in the wood. But if you think it's on there, maybe reel it down to it a little bit. Try not to move the bait too much and feel it. And as soon as you feel weight on there, that's when I pull into it. You don't need to jack their jaw. You don't need to swing crazy hard. Remember, you're only trying to set these little hooks. And oftentimes you might only have 1 or 2 of these pieces of treble in it. You'd think with a bait like this, every time you have, you know, 6 barbs in it, but how many times do you bring it back and you've got like 1 little piece hanging on there? You're like, how? There's treble hooks. So I just like a good pull into it. Now, sitting down from the kayak, I've noticed a difference. Instead of like standing up from the bank or standing in a boat, the platform moves, there's more stretch. So I do pull into it harder in the kayak when I'm fishing mono. If you're having trouble with keeping fish on in the kayak, they're jumping off, you don't feel like you're getting hook penetration, you might want to switch over to braid if you're not already doing that. Braid with that mono leader should help out with that because there's no stretch in the braid. So, and again, that kind of goes back to the whole hook rod line relationship. So if you're having trouble with the fish coming unpinned, you're probably going with too soft of a combo, too soft of a rod. Maybe you're just trying like a crankbait rod that's really parabolic, really soft. Maybe you need to go over to a braid, or you're using mono with an already kind of soft rod. Maybe you need to go to a little bit slightly stiffer rod, maybe a medium like extra fast if you're using mono. Kind of tinker with the combo that you've got, you know, with what you've got available and try to make it work for you. But the biggest thing I can say there is wait to feel the fish on there before you pull into it, because if you pull it away, maybe you don't get another chance at that fish. All right, fishing friends, those are my 4 tips for the popper. Kind of a secret topwater I feel like people don't throw enough anymore. Choose the right popper for you. Vary those retrieves, choose a combo that works for you, and work on your hook set and checking your whole system if you're losing fish to see what you can do to maybe increase that. Okay, now I also want you all to do me a favor. Comment below and let me know if these tips helped you, or any of these things that you've kind of maybe not thought about, or now you're going to kind of tinker with, or if I've missed anything, comment below and let me know what has helped you fish a popper, because if anybody's having trouble, I like people to leave that comment below and ask questions. All the fishing friends that I have tend to read it, comment below and help out. So it's me helping out and a whole bunch of other people that may be even better than me at fishing a popper can help you below. So I love it when the fishing friends help each other out. Comment below and let me know. Today's friend is 80 Kayak Man. So he left a long message on the video I just had fishing the spinnerbait, which is a great day. Caught a just over a 6-pounder on the spinner. But was talking, said he really liked my recent content. Thank you, man, for watching. But said the rod selection you showed for a $100 price point I've had for years now. LOL, I like it. SLX, talked about some different stuff. And that's going to be interesting to see what happens with some of the gear. Like I said, the Lose LFS just went up to 130 bucks. That stinks. Right now, the SLX is the king at $99. Will it go up? I saw somebody share a post the other day of some Daiwa stuff going up. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully stuff doesn't get too crazy. Maybe it'll come back down. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But, you know, we'll have to do what we can. But for now, I would say if there's something you're looking at before the price increases go up, I'd just grab it. But that's it for me. I hope this helped you all. I got to edit. Thanks for watching. And until next time.